Hey everyone, welcome back to Body Haven Soaps. My name is Darlene. I am the owner and creator of Body Haven Soaps, and the goal of this channel is to help fellow creators create. We go over recipes, formulating, and all kinds of other tips and tricks. If that's something that interests you, please feel free to subscribe and follow along. We have many recipes and formulations in the future. Today's video is going to be on doing the powder to foam facial cleanser. These are things that are pretty popular right now. I know I was selling a whole bunch. I need to get them restocked so I can get back to selling them again. The reason that they are very popular is, first of all, it's a powder form. So now we don't have to add a preservative to this because there's no water added to it. So people that are really sensitive to preservatives, or people that do not want to use a preservative on their skin, these are some options for them, right? We have to accommodate our customers. So know your customers and know what they're looking for. If this is something that they're looking for is preservative-free products, this is a great option for a facial cleanser. Unfortunately, anything we add water to, we have to put a preservative in for safety reasons. Okay, so that's one of the great benefits of this. Another great benefit of this is it extends the shelf life. This will extend the shelf life tremendously because everything stays dry. Now we do put a little bit of oil in here, a light carrier oil and that type of stuff, but we are also going to put in a few drops of vitamin E to help preserve the oil shelf life. But we're still going to have a way better shelf life than if we had a whipped face soap or any of those other things. Not that there's anything wrong with those. This is a shelf life extending product because no water is added. It is a preservative-free product because no water is added. So those are two great reasons why these are great sellers. And your options are kind of endless. Today we are going to do a Botanical Orchard powder to foam facial cleanser. We'll go through the process. It is so simple to make these, and you can switch out ingredients. Just make sure that they're not irritating to the skin or anything like that. And make sure that they are well labeled so people that have any allergies, for instance, today I'm going to use walnut shell as my exfoliator in this one. So I'm going to make sure that that is clearly labeled, and I will put a warning on my label. So those are some tips when you're adding things like that. But you could absolutely do raspberry seeds as an exfoliator. You could do multiple different things with this. Okay, so I just bought this Starfrit little blender. I used to have a magic bullet that worked great for this. My store, Walmart here, did not have any of the magic bullets in stock. So I ended up buying the Starfrit one, and we're going to see how this works, and hopefully it works just as well. I mean, you don't have to go spend a lot of money to do this. I mean, this was $30, so for how much I use it, I don't want to go buy a $200 machine to just be breaking down SCI noodles and powders and stuff. So you don't have to go extreme. I know the magic bullet worked really well, and it is, on the cheaper side, but we're going to give the Starfrit a try. All right, so everything is sanitized. I have bleached, air dried, and wiped everything down with our rubbing alcohol. Sanitization, even though there is no water and stuff in this, making sure that everything is sanitized is of most importance in all of our products that we're selling, or even if we're not selling them. We want things to be cleanly. We've got our little cup here, and it's a fairly nice big one, so I kind of like it. We're going to see how this works. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add everything into this, and I'm going to blend all this together, okay? The very first ingredient that we're going to put in there is going to be SCI powder, sodium cocoisonate powder. If you do not have the powder, you can absolutely use the noodles, okay? I would take the noodles, weigh them out, exact same amount. I would create my powder first. I would put it in there, and I would allow it to blend before I added my other ingredients if I was using the noodles, okay? But it's the same product, it's just in different forms. So you can absolutely substitute this powder for the cocoisonate noodles, the SCI noodles, but make sure you pre-grind them and just watch that dust. When you're working with any of these really fine powders like this, or you're creating those noodles into powder, you're going to get that dust in the air that is going to make you cough. It's going to make you sneeze. It's going to really kind of gag you, and it's not healthy for you to be breathing that stuff into your lungs. So I would always wear a mask when working with any cosmetic products. I'm going to try to be very careful because it's really hard to hear me when I've got my mask on, and I'm just going to slowly go through this. All right, so for the sodium cocoa isonate powder, we are putting in 20 grams. Okay, I'm making a 100-gram batch here. You can upsize this or downsize this to whatever requirements you need. You may want to make a smaller 50-gram batch if you're going to be doing some test recipes, exchanging ingredients in and out, because this is the type of recipe that is easy to formulate your own recipe out of and create your own product. Okay, so we have 20 grams of the sodium cocoa isonate noodles, and I'm going to be as careful as I can getting this in here. Try and make as least amount of powder as I can. All right, so 20 grams of the sodium cocoa isonate noodles, and then we are going to start adding in our other ingredients. So the clay that I am going to be using, I'm using 2 different clays. I like to use the kaolin clay in here because it's a very safe ingredient that doesn't cause irritation on the skin and that kind of stuff. But you're free to exchange clays in and out. You will get a different lather when they start to moisten this and create that lather in their hands than you will with the kaolin clay. Some clays absorb more water, things like that. That's a video idea I can come up with in the future of going over the different clays and giving you examples of proper usage of those clays. But this is just your white kaolin clay, and it is the largest part of this recipe, and it is going to be 64 grams. Okay, so we're going to put that clay in there. And clay is fairly light, so it's quite a bit of powder. And as I said, we're making 100 grams. And the other clay I'm going to be using is a French pink clay, which is also very soft and gentle on the skin, but it really does have a lot of mineral properties in it, okay, and helps with the absorption of impurities on the skin. So we have 10 grams of the French pink clay that I'm going to put in there, okay, and it'll kind of give you that pink hue in there as well, so it's kind of nice that way. All right, the other thing that we're going to add is for an exfoliant. Now, you do not have to put an exfoliant ingredient in here. Matter of fact, these clays do work as an exfoliant, but I'm adding a little bit to it. This is a recipe that I've made many times and people really like it. And I use the ground walnut shells. Now, you could use something, apricot shells, but if you don't want to be that abrasive, you can go down to those really fine things that aren't quite as abrasive on the skin. A raspberry seed exfoliant. There's tons of options there, but I'm going to put in 1 gram of the ground walnut shells. I choose this one for most of these powders. There is some that I do with the raspberry seed and raspberry husks and stuff like that. But this is kind of it's a lot finer than the apricot, so it's not extremely abrasive. And I'm only using 1 gram, so it's really not a lot. Okay, so 1 gram of the ground walnut shell. Okay. And then we are going to add in the things, and then we've got the clays that absorb the impurities on the skin. They work as a mild exfoliant. We have the ground walnut shell for that little bit more exfoliant. We have our, in the very bottom of here, we have our surfactant. Sorry guys, so we have that surfactant in there that we were looking for to create that foaming action to help pick the oils and dirts off of the skin, which is a very, very gentle surfactant, so it's not going to be irritating and it's not going to strip the skin of all of its natural oils. And then we're going to add in the things that are going to help bind this together. So in this little container here, I actually have 3 grams of apricot kernel oil. Now you can use any light carrier oil you want. I wouldn't go with a heavy carrier oil because it may leave that greasy feel on the skin. I honestly have never tried it with a heavier carrier oil, so maybe it would work fine, but I mean a simple oil just to carry this and add that moisture. Apricot kernel oil is beautiful on the skin, so I love using that. You have grapeseed oil. You have a lot of options there if you wanted to use a different oil. Okay, but 3 grams of the apricot kernel oil. I have 1 gram of my fragrance in here, so this is 1% for this whole batch of the fragrance oil. So very light, but you don't need a lot of fragrance oil in this. And you don't even have to use a fragrance oil in it if you don't want to. You could use an essential oil, or you could just leave it so it was unscented completely. That is absolutely fine. You would just replace that 1% with more carrier oil or something so you get the right texture that you're looking for. Okay, and I am using the Botanical Orchard. It's one of my favorite scents because part of this is going to be for me. I really miss having this in my bathroom arsenal. All right, and then I have in here 0.5 grams of vitamin E oil. Now vitamin E oil will help extend the shelf life of that oil. It's not a preservative, it's an antioxidant, but it does help extend shelf life of the oils. So I've put that in there, plus it's really good for the skin. All right, so that is what I have in this little container. As you can see, that is not a whole lot, but I'm actually gonna blend this once first to mix this all up so that it's not just soaking into that clay. Clay really absorbs things really quick. So I'm going to test out this new blender first. You see a little, I don't know if you guys can see the little bit of dust coming up when I did that, but this is why we wear our mask. All right, so there's a little bit of dust coming out there, so just, you know, be really careful when you're doing that. All right, so now as far as this oil, I'll probably put in a few drops, blend it, put in a few drops, blend it, because if I dump all of this oil in, I'm going to get that really greasy chunk that's going to be hard to blend into this. So let's just see what it looks like when I drizzle it in. Yeah, I'll probably do 2 blends with this. I'll do half and then another half, just so I don't get big oil clumps everywhere, because I want this to have a really nice texture to it. Okay, so the last ingredient I'm going to add that is going to bring some really good vitamin C to the skin is a vitamin C powder. Now this isn't something that you have to add. It is quite expensive, but vitamin E is so good for the face, so I do add it into almost all of my powder to foam facial cleansers. And I will change my ingredients, you guys, according to the season too. Different seasons, the skin needs different things, whether it's really warm weather, cold weather, all of those types of things. So I will adjust to that. Okay, maybe you live in a place where it's just always hot, or it's really cold. We kind of get all 4 seasons here, and they're definitely all 4 different seasons. But vitamin C powder, and I'm going to put 0.5 grams in. So not a lot, it doesn't take a lot in here, but it's very good for the skin. So we are going to put in 0.5 grams of the vitamin C. And then I will do a final blend, and then I will demonstrate how this works. And that's it, guys. We have our product made. I'm just going to get a little bowl of water so I can demonstrate the powder to foam here for you, move my camera a little bit, and I'll show you guys how this works. Okay guys, so after I've got this, I'll just move this for a second, powder out of that blender, which I'm very happy with that blender. It works really well for this, and it will work probably really well for all my other things that I use it for. So I'm pretty happy with that. But you can see how light and airy that is. We put very little additives in there, but it's a very powdery form, okay? And I don't have the packaging right here with me, but you could put this into, I don't know, those little glass spice jars. I mean, there's tons of ideas. I use the 2-ounce glass containers that I buy from a soap company that I package this in and label it in. But you can package this however you wanted, as long as they were able to pour or scoop out the powder to get it into their hands to form a lather. Okay, so what we're going to do is simply, you just wet your hands. Okay, you're going to take a little bit of this powder, maybe half a teaspoon. Okay, and we just add a little water to it, and we work it into that foam. And you can feel that light exfoliation in there. You can see how nice and foamy this gets and creamy that is on the skin. There's no preservatives in this. As I said, you could use this fragrance free, but it is very lathery and silky soft, and it feels great on the skin. So there's an example of how it works. And it smells amazing. All right guys, so hopefully you enjoyed that video. And remember that if you have any questions, to please ask them below. This is a very easy recipe that has tons of substitutions for it. And if you're interested, I can do some more recipes that I make into this, or examples of substitutions. Just let me know in the comment box below. I hope you guys enjoyed. Have a great day.